Just Matt Standards. We've got some storms to talk about tonight. Cold front moving in. And we've got a lot of heat and humidity for it to work with in order to produce some scattered storms. We have higher pressure off to the south and east, so we're not going to notice one massive line just form, but scattered storms up and down this line. If you look closely, you're starting to see some of those isolated storms develop. We have some in and around Oklahoma City, a couple lightning strikes with those. Now new severe thunderstorm warnings attached with those cells. You go farther north and east, just west of Coffeyville, we got a little bit of a storm. You go north of Pittsburgh, we've got some storms trying to develop too, and a couple more going into Missouri. This whole yellow box is a severe thunderstorm watch that has been issued by the National Weather Service. So that goes until midnight tonight. So anyone in the yellow box has the potential for some windstorms. Now, coming up, we're going to be talking about why we kind of cut that off into parts of the river valley, why parts of the river valley don't have as high of a severe threat right now as locations maybe do farther to the north and the west. But we're going to get this live stream together really quick. We're sending it out to all our platforms, but we'll have more updates on your 5 News at 6. We just want to hop here for a quick second to give you an update on what we're thinking the next couple of hours. We'll probably have more updates throughout the evening. And then once the storms are here, we'll track them with you guys. Guys, it's been a while since we've had something like this, so something to watch for sure. All right. Storms on the western edge of this watch. The reason why Northwest Arkansas and Crawford County and Sequoyah County are included is because they're a little bit closer to the front. And I think the farther south you go, it's going to be tougher for some of these storms. We've had some rain off to the east, especially in eastern Arkansas, so that's kind of cool, the atmosphere to the east of us. But higher pressure to the south will kind of eat at these storms as they form to the northwest. They start moving east and southeast. And also, these storms are not necessarily moving just southeast. A lot of these are moving pretty much due east. Now, they're going to form at different parts of the cold front, so it kind of looks like they're moving southeast, but really, they're moving almost due east. So it's going to take some time before they can even get to the river valley. The ones in northwest Arkansas are right here. The ones for the river valley are way out towards the west. So there's a big difference in timing for these storms as they come up. But they probably will start to get eaten up a little bit by the higher pressure to the south and east. So it's questionable what we're really going to get in Greenwood, Poteau, Paris, Boonville, Clarksville, even Ozark. But for the northwest Arkansas metros, for Van Buren, really even for Fort Smith. I know the watch is on the other side of the river for us, really into Van Buren. But we're going to be watching that for sure. Right now we're dry, it's warm, it's humid, it's sticky. Temperatures are next to 100 degrees in some parts. But there's what we're tracking. The cold front gets closer, storms start to approach northwest Arkansas right there around 10 o'clock. But notice how some of them start to weaken over time, especially the ones off to the south, because they're closer to the high pressure that's sitting there in Texas. It's been sitting there for months now. So that's why we don't have a lot of activity the farther south you go. Further north you go, because we're farther away from the high pressure, I think it gets a lot bigger in terms of the coverage of these storms. They're kind of bigger, they cover more area, and some of these can be stronger too. But northwest Arkansas, we're watching up till about midnight too. There could be some that try to get into the river valley 1, 2, 3 a.m., but the strongest ones will likely be off to the north. Now you do see some cells, you're just looking at computer simulations. Northern Arkansas could get some later tonight, but I think our chances are pretty much done by about 3 o'clock in the morning. After that, if you haven't gotten a shower or storm, chances are going to be pretty low. Cooler air starts to come in. That's the one nice thing about this front as it pushes across Arkansas and Oklahoma. We're still going to be in some 90s tomorrow, but it won't be as humid. So we're knocking out the humidity, and we'll have northwest winds tomorrow too. Here's a look at the severe zones tonight. That yellow color shows you the level 2 severe risk. That does include all of Benton County, the majority of Carroll County, northern Madison County, northwestern Washington County, and northwestern Sequoyah County. I think here for a while, as this cold front's trying to push on through, 44 is going to be lit up. But as these fronts and these storms push south and east close to the high pressure, eventually they'll start to break apart a little bit and they'll become weaker. But we still have that level 1 for Poteau, Greenwood, Paris, Boonville, Clarksville, even Fort Smith, Van Buren. We'll just have to watch. They could be a little bit weaker. This is a very volatile situation. Guys, whenever you have storms coming in with temperatures close to 100, a lot of wonky things can happen. This isn't a classic severe weather event for us. The severe storms coming up really only have a gusty wind threat. Now, some of them could have some hail. We had some hail earlier this week in parts of the river valley, closer to Clarksville and Paris, depending on where you live. But the thing is, when temperatures are so warm, you can get big hailstorms and stones up high. By the time they reach the ground, a lot of them start to melt, and so they can get a lot smaller. The question is, how much do they shrink? Sometimes they shrink completely down to a raindrop, and then you just get even more rainfall. That's what we're kind of working with on this forecast tonight. but windy conditions are your primary threat when temperatures are just so warm. And you can get these microbursts too. It's very easily possible because you got a lot of cold air up there and it just dives through the heat and humidity that we have down here. And that produces a gust of wind in all directions. So those can be pretty nasty. Those can put out some power outages every once in a while. We had those power outages in Lamar yesterday. That was thanks to those microbursts that we had around us. But the stronger storms will be to the northwest. They probably should get weaker. We're going to track them tonight. But I think the timing is really, even after 9 o'clock, it's probably closer to 10 o'clock. They're sitting about here. Midnight, they're kind of sitting about here. And then by 2, 3 o'clock, any kind of stragglers are kind of sitting right here. So we'll be watching storms. Make sure you track them with us. We're going to have more updates coming up in your 5 News at 6. Got a couple different maps on timing per county. And then we'll take a closer look at future casts on these storms trying to push on through. So haven't had this kind of a storm threat in the past several weeks because it's just been so hot and dry. But to be honest, hopefully we don't get severe weather, but it'd be good to get some rainfall. We need it. We'll be back. Keep it here. Keep it local. As always, we'll keep you advised.